Sometimes the most important changes in life begin so quietly that we almost miss them. Imagine an ordinary day, the kind that blends into every other day, until one small decision gently nudges the story in a new direction. That is where this film begins, not with drama or spectacle, but with a calm sense of familiarity that many viewers will recognize from their own lives. Yuki is introduced as a young man whose days follow a predictable rhythm. His world is stable, safe, and quietly unchallenging. Yet beneath that stability lies a subtle curiosity, a feeling that life might hold more than what he has already seen. One evening, almost by chance, Yuki steps into a modern entertainment space. It is not portrayed as glamorous or overwhelming, but as a neutral setting where different lives briefly intersect. The atmosphere is calm, softly lit, and unassuming, allowing the focus to remain on human interaction rather than the environment itself. As Yuki takes a seat, he notices a woman sitting beside him. She is composed, graceful, and quietly confident. There is no exaggerated introduction, no dramatic exchange. Instead, the camera and narration linger on subtle details. Her posture, her calm expression, the way she listens before speaking. These small cues are important because they mirror the way admiration often begins in real life, not with grand gestures, but with attention. Yuki is drawn to her presence, not because of anything she claims to be, but because of how she carries herself. What Yuki feels is curiosity mixed with inspiration, a reminder that meeting someone new can briefly expand our sense of what is possible. Then comes a quiet turning point. Through casual remarks and contextual clues, Yuki realizes that the woman beside him is Suka, a well-known actress. The revelation is handled with restraint. There is no shock, no exaggerated reaction. Instead, the moment is inward, marked by Yuki's subtle shift in awareness. An ordinary life brushing against a public one. Yet the film is careful not to elevate one above the other. Suka is not framed as distant or unapproachable. She remains present, attentive, and grounded, reinforcing the idea that public success does not erase human simplicity. As their interaction continues, coincidences begin to emerge. Shared interests, similar reflections, and overlapping experiences slowly create a sense of connection. For Yuki, these conversations feel refreshing, opening doors to thoughts he has not previously explored. Yuki begins to notice that his brief encounter with Suka does not fade the way most small conversations do. Instead, it lingers in his thoughts, returning at unexpected moments during his everyday routine. Their paths cross again through a series of ordinary but meaningful coincidences. Each meeting feels plausible, grounded in shared spaces and shared timing rather than narrative convenience. With every conversation, Yuki grows more comfortable. He listens more attentively, speaks more openly, and begins to see himself differently through these interactions. Suka, for her part, is portrayed with warmth and clarity. She is thoughtful, reflective, and consistently respectful of boundaries. The film avoids placing her on a pedestal, choosing instead to highlight her humanity. She speaks about her work not as a symbol of success, but as a craft that requires discipline and balance. What excites Yuki most is not her status, but the way she engages with him as an equal. For someone accustomed to blending into the background, this recognition feels transformative. The film gently illustrates how validation, when unexpected, can awaken dormant aspirations. Yuki begins to imagine broader possibilities for his own life, not necessarily tied to fame, but to self-worth and personal growth. His expressions become more animated, his posture more open. As conversations deepen, Yuki and Tsuka exchange perspectives on ambition, routine, and fulfillment. Their dialogue is natural and thoughtful, resembling the kind of conversation that leaves a lasting impression precisely because it feels sincere. However, beneath this positive momentum, the film introduces a gentle tension. Yuki begins to reflect on these moments with increasing intensity. His thoughts drift from appreciation toward imagination. He starts replaying conversations, interpreting gestures, and assigning meanings that may not fully align with reality. Importantly, the film does not criticize this response. Instead, it treats it as a common human experience, one that many viewers will recognize. This is where excitement begins to blur into expectation. Yuki's inner world becomes richer, but also more complex. The film carefully shows how admiration, when left unexamined, can quietly evolve into emotional assumptions. These moments are framed with sensitivity, encouraging viewers to pause and reflect on their own emotional patterns, rather than judge the character. The film consistently emphasizes awareness over impulse. Tsuka's behavior remains steady and clear, offering no mixed signals, only kindness and consistency. This contrast between Yuki's growing imagination and Tsuka's grounded presence becomes a key emotional dynamic, guiding the audience toward an important realization without stating it outright. Yuki feels inspired, energized, and hopeful, yet also subtly uncertain. Excitement can be a powerful motivator, but it also requires reflection. Without awareness, even positive emotions can lead us to misunderstand ourselves and others. The excitement that once felt light and energizing now carries weight, not because anything negative has occurred, but because Yuki's inner dialogue has grown more complex. Yuki begins to notice subtle changes in himself. Moments that once brought simple joy now invite analysis. He wonders what each conversation means, how each pause should be interpreted. Tsuka remains consistent in her demeanor. She continues to engage with Yuki openly, kindly, and without ambiguity. Her actions align with her words, reinforcing a clear and respectful dynamic. There are no confrontations or heightened scenes. Instead, tension builds through internal realization. Yuki begins to sense that his emotional narrative may not fully align with reality. This awareness emerges gradually through moments of silence, reflection, and honest self-questioning. When Yuki observes Tsuka interacting with others in her professional world, he sees her warmth and attentiveness mirrored in different contexts, and for the first time, understands that what felt uniquely personal to him is part of who she is as a person. Yuki recognizes that his feelings were shaped by admiration and imagination rather than shared intention. Yuki does not blame Tsuka, nor does he retreat into resentment. Instead, he turns inward, examining how his expectations formed and why they felt so convincing. The film subtly communicates that growth often occurs in stillness, not in action. This restraint strengthens the emotional impact, making the drama feel authentic and relatable. In the end, Yuki reaches a quiet acceptance. He understands that what he experienced was real in feeling, but not in form. The bond he shares with Tsuka is genuine, but it exists within the boundaries of friendship. This realization does not diminish its value. Instead, it reframes it, opening the door to a healthier and more grounded connection. Emotions are meaningful, but they require reflection to be understood accurately. When we take the time to examine our feelings with honesty and respect, we gain clarity, resilience, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. Yuki's journey does not end with a dramatic decision or a defining moment, but with a quiet realignment of perspective. This choice reinforces the film's central message. Growth is often subtle, shaped by understanding rather than action. Yuki now interacts with Suka from a place of emotional balance. The warmth between them remains, but it is grounded in mutual respect and clear boundaries. The film presents this shift as a positive outcome, demonstrating that connection does not lose value when expectations are adjusted. Instead, it becomes more sustainable and honest. This is a crucial educational takeaway, especially for audiences learning how to navigate complex emotions. Suka, in turn, is portrayed as appreciative of this clarity. Without explicit explanations or heavy dialogue, the film shows how mutual understanding can strengthen their relationship. Their conversations continue, but they are lighter, more open, and free from unspoken assumptions. As Yuki returns to his everyday life, his routine is similar, yet his mindset is different. He carries himself with greater confidence, not because of who he met, but because of what he learned. By recognizing the nature of his feelings, Yuki avoids misunderstanding and preserves a meaningful friendship. This outcome reinforces the idea that honesty with oneself protects both personal well-being and interpersonal harmony. It frames self-awareness as a skill that can be learned and practiced. Yuki's journey becomes a reminder that not every meaningful connection is meant to become something more, and that this realization does not diminish its importance. On the contrary, it allows the connection to exist in its most authentic form. As the film concludes, its lesson is clear yet understated. The story leaves viewers not with answers, but with thoughtful questions, encouraging ongoing learning, empathy, and personal growth.